this week we're going to talk about deadlifts and a specific element of the deadlift, which is grip. So I generally get a lot of questions around how should I be gripping the bar in a deadlift, because a lot of people are told a few different things depending on who they've been taught by, what they're trying to get out of their training, so on and so forth. So for me, the number one thing around what the recommendation is for your grip on the deadlift, it has to come down to what you're trying to get out of your training. So what I'm going to talk about is coming at it from an angle of training for general health and fitness. If you're training for a strength sport, then chances are you're probably just going to, especially when you're competing, you're going to want to try and pick your strongest grip and go for it. However, there's going to be some carryover because you want to try and build up your grip, because that's going to give you the best chance of lifting the most weight. So the two most common grips that we generally see are a double overhand grip like this, or we've got an alternate grip, so where we've got one hand under, one hand over. So when we're talking to people about gripping the bar for a deadlift, we're always going to lead with a double overhand grip. Okay, and the reason for this is it has a lot of carryover to some other movements that we do, specifically gymnastics movements, pull-ups, which have a lot of people centered around. That's something that they want to get to for their goal. The other thing is, it also highlights if grip is a problem. Okay, so when we've got a double overhand grip, we're balanced on both sides, we've got both hands over, so we should be on both sides of our body engaging the same muscles. As soon as I change my grip, so I go one hand over, one hand under, I am engaging different muscles on the opposite side of my body. So if I'm doing a whole bunch of sets where I've got one hand over, one hand under, and I'm constantly having the same grip, so if it might be left hand under, right hand over, and I'm doing that every single repetition, I'm going to start to create muscular imbalances, and that's going to start to create other problems. Whereas when we go double overhand, it lessens the chances of that. Now, at some point, your grip is going to become a limiting factor double overhand, and this is going to be a stronger grip. When you get to that point, we're probably going to talk to you about using a switch grip or using an alternate grip, but each set or even each repetition changing the sides to make sure that we don't have any imbalance on each side. My personal opinion is, until your strength gets to a particular level, you should always be using a double overhand grip. Once your strength gets past that level, use the overhand grip for your warm-up sets, and then when you start to get past that level, you know, it might be 150 plus for guys and around about 100 plus for ladies, and then you would start alternating the grip. But again, making sure when we're working our way through our sets, it might be set one where we go left hand under, right hand over, and set two, we're switching the other way when we do that. The other thing with a double overhand grip, if you're using the deadlifts and you're doing something like CrossFit or Olympic weightlifting, you're not going to do a clean or a snatch with one hand under, one hand over. It's going to make it impossible to get that up into that front rack position, so this is going to have a lot more carryover. So the more you can work your grip like that, the more carryover it will have in other aspects of your training. However, you are going to be limited when you get there. At some point you're going to have to change, especially with your deadlift. What we recommend is when you get to that point, you're alternating as you go. So each set is changing, that way you don't create an imbalance. In saying that, to finish it off, if you are testing, you'll warm up to a point where it becomes a problem or the grip becomes a limiting factor, and then to finish off, you're probably going to pick your strongest grip and test away. Make sure you do that each time you test though, but that shouldn't be an every session thing. Hopefully that helps, gives you some idea on where you should be at with your deadlift grip. If you've got any questions, let us know.